listening to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, presented by Brandon Elliott. This show will be going over all aspects of real estate investing and is intended to educate, motivate, and prepare you to take action on your first or next real estate investment. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. I am your host, Mr. Brandon Elliott. I'm excited to have these guys on the East Coast. I love East Coast. I'm from New Jersey originally. These guys are from New York. These guys are in Florida. A smarter choice, right? And I'm in the nice weather of San Diego as well. So what's cool is that you guys have been doing real estate since 2000 and really went full time during COVID. Like 2020, you're like, hey, enough is enough. I'm ready to go all in. 30 doors at this point, but helps so many people nationwide do creative real estate. And I love talking creative real estate. It's like the name of the game, right? It just makes it that much more fun. And you're active. So you guys are doing some awesome things with seller financing, wraps, lease options. You actually have some techniques to be able to show people how to get seller leads at actual no cost, which I'm really intrigued to hear. And I mean, you've done over 100 deals yourself over the last 20 something years, but excited to have you guys on here today. How are you guys feeling? How's life?
Happy Friday, like every day is a great day down here in Florida.
Yeah, it's like 70 degrees. It's sunny. We're doing deals. It can't be better than that.
I love it. So true. So tell me, anybody out there that doesn't know more about who you guys are, where you guys are from, like what got you to this point? Do you mind just giving that 30,000 foot view for listeners?
Absolutely. I definitely point to him because I had nothing to do with it in the very beginning. I was an English teacher. I went to school, did the traditional route. I was going to just, work my 30 years and retire, which seemed like the normal thing to do. That's what I thought was the right way, right? And I met him and he opened up my eyes and I realized that is not the only thing. With or without a degree, you can do a lot with real estate. And so we met in 2008. January, and by end of summer he's dragging me to all of these rundown disgusting properties and I'd be like, well, what the heck, I'm gonna go read my book, you have fun. And what was kind of a hobby ended up turning into a full-time gig here. But
yeah, and I got into it by just completely an accident. It was the year 2000. I was 22. I was broke as can be. I was at a friend's house and he bought a course off a late night commercial and he never even opened it. So I'm like, buddy, can I borrow this? And he was hesitant at first. It was like $300, but he let me. And I said, I'll get it back, which I never did. I still got it. We're still good friends, but there was VCR tapes, cassette tapes, books. I did all the listening, watched, and I got a deal under contract a month later, wholesaled my first deal. I made like almost $13,000 like walk away, which was the biggest amount of money I have ever seen in my life. And it kind of changed the game. But the big problem was from the year 2000, I didn't do my next deal 2008. So there's a big gap, but I had a job, right? And all these other things were getting life. But I met my wife. I had my own house. She had her house. And then the market was crashing in '08. So there was actually like plentiful amount of deals. Mm-hmm. And so what we were doing was we would buy a deal, pay cash. We would renovate it. We would rent it out. We'd go to the bank, take our money back out, and then we would go look for another one. And it took us from 2008 till 2012 to do our next deal. So it was slow moving, but we got married at that point. We were doing a lot of traveling. And then Jenn walked away from teaching and we started having a family. And then, we were buying a deal every year or two, nothing too crazy. But then in 2016, I was at the bank. We had a 1-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter. And I was refinancing out of our last deal, and the guy at the bank told me that, Joe, at 10 mortgages, we cut you off, so you need to figure something else out. And I got to tell you, I figured at that point, I'm going to have to retire when I'm 90 because I worked at a car dealership, and there's not there's no like super big pensions or anything like that. So I kind of felt like really defeated. So I'm online, I'm searching, and this is when I stumbled upon Creative Finance, which is just really how to buy real estate without banks, without using credit, and not having to put down like 20% or 25 or even half down, like didn't have to do any of that. So I fell in love instantly, but I didn't know how to do it. I just saw the big picture. So we hired somebody to help us. And shortly after that, we did our first seller finance deal where guy inherited his grandfather's property. He owned it outright. Wasn't a junker because we were used to buying junkers, and he wanted a good price for it. So we offered to pay his price if he'd be open to terms. He said yes. And this is the deal that changed everything. We bought this turnkey house with $100 down, a 0% mortgage, and a $500 a month payment. Like, we had to take out like an old couch and like paint a couple of rooms, and this thing was turnkey, ready to go. And then we also, our strategy we learned at the same time was how to do the lease option or rent to own. And so our renters who moved into that house actually gave us $10,000 to move in, and which was great because now we were cash positive.
Yeah.
And we were cash flowing like $500 a month. Plus they're paying off our debt at $500 a month. And when I did this deal and I'm looking at the math, I'm like, it's an infinite return and we're building equity and wealth quickly. I'm like, the heck with banks. This is all I want to do from now on. And then that's just when things started to get kind of exciting. And we just started doing some of those deals. And that's when everything started to really change for us.
Wow, that's incredible. I love that. It's a lot of different times that went by there, but
yeah,
man, like it's something a lot of people run into as well, right? With the banks and frustration that comes over somebody when they're like, dang, like how do you not see what I'm seeing? On paper, I'm good. I should be able to qualify for this. We should be able to make it. Something's pushing them back. And maybe even it's just their own risk tolerance with that bank. You know, you max it out. Now you have to go to another bank. Instead of dealing with all that headache and nonsense with underwriting and everything, you got creative. And I love creative real estate because it is more about the terms versus the price. You know, you can figure out how much you're going to put for the down payment, the interest rate, when you're going to start that first payment, you know, what it's going to be, how often it's going to be, all those things. And you get to capitalize on that great opportunity. So I'm curious, going back to the very beginning, Joe, did you have any friends or family members that were actually doing real estate, or you just saw your buddy get excited? He didn't take action, so you're like, all right, I'll jump in.
Well, I mean, I kind of did. My parents, when I was young, had some rentals, but I learned like all the things not to do. You know, all of a sudden I knew I was a teenager in high school, and all of a sudden we had all these rentals in like the roughest areas of Rochester, New York. And then all of a sudden we didn't anymore. And I didn't understand what a foreclosure was and things like that. And then realized it put my family into a lot of pressure. So there was times where, I mean, I grew up poor, right? Broke. Like they didn't have money. They just lost 4 properties because there were all these issues. So, I mean, I learned a lot early of what not to do, which is sometimes some of the biggest lessons you're going to learn. So other than that, what I did realize was, you know, there's some really wealthy people out there. And the common thing was like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and all these other books, like, you know, owning real estate is a way to get there. You could be the average Joe, hello, and just become a multimillionaire from real estate. And it doesn't happen immediately as much as we'd all love to, but over time, my gosh, it really does.
So that first one that you did, you got $13,000 at 22 years old. You're super stoked and like, this is amazing. This is life-shaping. And that was just within your first month, which is incredible. You said your second deal wasn't until like 2008?
Yeah.
Okay. I know life happened, things happen, but where do you think the momentum kind of dove off? Just for guidance?
It was guidance. Obviously, internet wasn't what it was now. So even like, how do I find these deals and all these other things?
Well, you had a deal, but it kind of fell apart.
Yeah, I had a deal that fell apart by one day because of the inspection date. Like my guy told me, I'll take it. I call up the guy. I said, we'll do the deal. He's like, oh, sorry, your expiration expired, your due diligence. We already found another buyer. So that deal fell through. And so I had a job at a car dealership. And if you ever know anything about car sales, like you're going to work 90 hours a week. Maybe not quite 90, but it felt like it, right? And
It felt like it, yeah.
And I'm also like, not for nothing though, I'm 22, 23 years old. I'm making okay money and I'm working a lot. And then, you know, I'm going out and doing things like that. So just lost focus. So if I had a coach or a mentor or somebody who's like, Joe, like you need to keep doing this, like it would have been a different story. And
community, like you didn't even have like friends or family.
Nobody. I was like that lone ranger. There was nobody else doing this that I knew of.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay. And then so you guys got together and your next deal was in 2008 where the market isn't really the best at that time. But did it already crash at that point and you started kind of
deals? Well, because if you think about it, in the early 2000s, 2003, 4, 5, it was like the last few years where the market was on fire. Everybody was paying asking price, if not over asking.
Everybody was buying a house. Like I bought a house, which I was a teacher and didn't put very much down. Looking back, I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah, everybody, if you could breathe and fog a mirror, you could have bought a house back then, right? So
and everybody's goal was in 6 months, I'll just refi. That's what I was planning.
And so that was the challenge. So the market was on fire. There wasn't even like, I don't even know if YouTube was out yet. There wasn't Zillow. There was none of these like resources like there are now. It's never been easier.
Facebook was just becoming a thing, I feel like.
And I didn't even have
You didn't even have one, yeah, because we met in one of his first emails. He was like, you said something about like, I want to buy a house and fix it up. I was like, well, I kind of own like a crappier house here. You can come help me with mine.
It was a nice house you had to make, but
You could had some love it could need.
yeah, oh yeah, don't get me wrong. It wasn't a brand.
It was an older house.
Yeah.
I hear you. I love it. So then you ended up getting a deal around that time frame, though?
Yeah. So and that's where we found deals were just on the market. I was putting in low cash offers. Now they were being accepted. I didn't have all this competition. In the end of 2008, nobody was buying.
Yes.
And I'm finding these nice houses out in the suburbs for like $30,000-$40,000 in like good school districts. And these were like nice neighborhoods. So I'm just like, let's scoop as many of these. Brandon, I wish I bought 100 of them because what they're all worth now compared to what they used to be worth. Like,
Don't tell me.
oh my
Yeah,
God.
we do it.
So when the market is like dipping or crashing or even it doesn't matter. Like if you buy them right, you could always get good deals.
Yep. I love that. So the last 4 years you've been going all in, and it's just total different life. I'm anticipating you could, once you're all in and you're helping out other people do the same exact thing that you originally started with, which is great, but you're taking down more opportunities yourself. What does the last 4 years look like?
Completely changed. So we moved from upstate New York to Florida. So that was a huge thing for our family because what happened was we realized we weren't tied to anything up there. We were actually going to build a house near his dealership. So once he walked away from the dealership, we thought like, do we really need to build this house? And so we ended up selling that land and doubled our profit. So that was incredible. And then from there, we realized that we wanted to homeschool our kids because I really and Joe really wanted to travel. And being a former public school teacher, that is nearly impossible to do. You can't just take your kids out for an extended time without, there being repercussions. So I really dove into it the summer of 21. And I'm like, I could totally do this, so that we did. So we're in our 4th year of homeschooling now. So we do that. And our kids are actually in our business. So they'll help us out when our team comes over or they'll get into the CRM. We host local meetups they're a part of. And so that's been really rewarding too. Now that we've moved to Florida, the sky's the limit for being able to really bring the kids into our world of what we're doing, entrepreneurship. That's part of their curriculum. So that's been amazing. And then, like you said, we're coaching others to be able to do these things as well, because for us, it's the freedom of like location. You could literally work from anywhere, right? Like we could still buy properties up in New York while never setting foot in them. And so, becoming really comfortable with that was like the biggest takeaway, I think, from COVID is anything is possible.
Yeah, because what happened was in 2020, I just got a raise in my job. My old boss was like, hey, you're not going to leave now that I'm giving you this raise and go start some marshmallow factory. And I'm like, he said that. And I'm like, no, not marshmallow thing, right? Because he saw me buying a couple houses, but then...
He was like, no, that's Jenn's thing.
Yeah, I said, that's my wife's thing, right? But then 2 weeks later, COVID happens. They closed down New York. And my wife's like, you're not going to go back to work. Like, we're going to do this. We're going to do it full time now because... we knew how to buy real estate without banks. I didn't need a W-2. We both got great credit, but it's not even needed. So once we already knew that we could grow our portfolio, we just went to take it to another level. And what happened, Brandon, was we had a different coach at that point, and he told us, if you're going to do this full time, you need to bring on some help. You can't do it all yourself. So I put a post on Facebook. We had 2 guys. One was a 19-year-old pizza delivery guy, and the other was a 22-year-old bartender. And we
it's
just
awesome.
Yeah, and we just were an open book. We showed with them exactly what to do, and we went from doing a deal every year or two to doing now a deal every month.
Yeah,
we brought on a few other people to our team. Now we're doing multiple deals a month, and it just started rocking. It got really, really exciting. And then we were doing deals in Rochester, New York, and then we got one in Buffalo, New York. Then we found a deal in Pennsylvania. Then we found a deal in North Pole, Alaska. And they're like, well, wait a minute, if we could do a deal there, like we could do deals anywhere. And so that's what really kind of opened up our minds. And we started doing all these deals virtually without going to the properties because COVID, you couldn't. And so we just kind of built this system of how to do it virtually. Yeah. It's never been easier because everybody's got smartphones now.
Yep. I love that. So talk to me, what states are you focusing on? Do you have certain states that you prefer, or are you just anything that pops up, you're going after it?
Well, we used to go nationwide, and that got to be really tricky. You start learning there's different things in different states. So we kind of started to narrow down to a handful of states that we really, really like. And don't get me wrong, if I get a heck of a deal out in some, random town.
New Mexico.
Yeah, like I've got a deal we're looking at right now in Roswell, New Mexico. I'm not going to do that one, I don't think, but it happens. Like we get leads from all over the place. So my favorite places are, it's going to sound weird to say this, but upstate New York.
I love upstate New York. Yeah.
Because a lot of investors.
Most people don't want them. You got New York deals, send them our way.
What's funny is years ago, I ended up getting into a property in Sydney, New York. And it ended up being some problems. It's a small little town. And so eventually I got out of it and I didn't lose my shirt, but I think the next guy did lose his shirt. And so it was one of those painful situations, but so it depends on the area. It depends on if you know the area, right? Like I wasn't from there. I'm from New Jersey. It was good numbers and it cash flowed. And I was like, okay, well, we could do this, but there's a lot more things that go into it, right? So talk to me about your experience from like being within those areas and just kind of having a different perspective than other people that aren't from there that may make it slightly an advantage, if you will, or something that somebody that doesn't live there should be aware of.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I always say too is like, look at the city, but like, what are the surrounding towns? Because that's really where we find like the single family homes, the starter homes and good schools, because there are really inexpensive properties in the city of Rochester, but there are some really dangerous areas. And there's a lot of things happening that if you aren't aware of, like there's people we were just trying to help out. She bought, what was it, a triplex?
The 7 unit.
Oh, a 7 unit. Okay.
Yeah. So she bought a 7 unit. She was an out-of-state investor in Rochester, and she was like, I didn't know what I was getting into. I'd never been to Rochester. I bought this property because they're agent. And so the numbers look good until she bought it and realized it was a nightmare. And then she was going to offer it for us for doing a wrap, right? She's got it. We were able to buy it, but she had a loan on it and the loan would say in her name, but we could buy it. I sent my guys to do the walkthrough. One of the guys even knew the property, and come to find out she way overpaid by like $150,000 for the property. And, she's just in a really rough spot. Terrible tenants going back. They got evicted. They keep coming back, breaking the windows. And I'm like, yeah, it sounds like no thing for me. So we passed on that deal. But, so I always say start like where you know. And and I got to tell you, but the first house that we did a deal on that I did was $25,000. Now we're doing deals that are $1 million properties down here in Florida. And so
like your risk tolerance it grows as you grow and you realize like what you are capable of. And
yeah, absolutely.
I attest to this as well. My first property was over in Ohio. It was $9,000. My second one was like $60,000, a triplex, being said. And then, now we're doing, $1 or $2 million deals out here in San Diego. And it's just, you get more comfortable. The more educated you get, you realize it's just a number. And if you can make money off of it and you have everything kind of dialed in, then it can be low risk, higher rewards even out here in San Diego with some of the deals that we would flip. Yeah. So talk to me. Something really intrigued me. Obviously, I want to kind of go through some of the bullet points of how you're structuring some of these deals, such as seller finance, wrap, lease options. I do want to talk about that. But before we jump into that, I am so excited about, you really got me with a cliffhanger on seller leads that are costing nothing. And you're like with some of your clients, members, if you will, you're just like flooding them and overwhelming them with those. So I'm curious what that looks like and how other people can get their hands on something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We give it all away. Like, why hold back? Because, the actual platform that we love, you're streaming live on it right now. So Facebook is a beautiful thing. So if you're watching this, you're on the right place at the right place at the right time for sure. And if you're listening to this at the podcast, like go dust off that profile because we're about to, drop some major nuggets here.
Yeah. So the big thing for us, especially when you first got started, because my first coach said, Jenn, like, thanks for getting into our program, but you're going to have to spend some money on direct mail. We spent $5,000 on direct mail. Which is a lot of money, right? And if you're just getting started, especially if you're just learning how to do this, that could be the difference of you doing it or not doing it. And, you might fumble around in the beginning. So then what we've realized is how to get incoming leads organically for free by using Facebook. So if you got a pen and paper, now is the time to take it out and take some notes, because we're going to give you some things that how you can generate leads literally today. You could get a leads in an hour from now incoming, where people are reaching out to you, because I've cold called. I don't like it. I think it kind of stinks. It works. But man, you get enough of those cold calls, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Direct mail works, but it's expensive. They do PPC.
It all works, but we just love, especially for anyone that just needs a little bit of a boost here. You know, it takes a little time, but it is not hard.
Yeah. So for an example, you're in San Diego. So if I wanted to start getting leads in San Diego, I would go to my personal Facebook page. Yeah. I would go to the search bar. I would type in San Diego, California. Hit search. Now it's going to give you, do you want to look for a post about San Diego? Are you looking for people named San Diego, or are you looking for groups? I'll click groups. And now it's going to show me all of the groups in San Diego, and there's tons of them. Facebook has like over 10 million different groups, and 72% of the population is on Facebook. So there's a lot of people there too. So I join all of the groups that have 10,000 people or more. These are garage sale groups, yard sale groups, community groups, not really like real estate investing groups. I mean, I'm in those, but I don't do this for that.
These are just normal people hanging out on Facebook that are going to have houses for sale or property.
Yep.
Yeah. So after I joined like the San Diego garage sale group that's got 60,000 people in it, I'll make a post inside the group. And the post reads, and I'm telling you, if you do this, like, you better send me a message like, holy cow, Joe, I got a bunch of leads, because I love hearing the feedback, right? But so we join the groups, and I post, does anyone have a house for sale that's not market ready? I'm looking to buy one in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Or I can put 2 to 3 months, doesn't matter, right? But does anyone have a house for sale that's not market ready? I'm looking to buy one in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And before I hit submit, you can make the background different colors. You can make it blue or pink. I recommend don't using the poop emoji. I've used that before. You don't get as much, right? But after you make it like blue, so it kind of stands out, hit submit. Now, some of these groups you don't get any feedback from. Some of these groups, the record is actually from one of our clients in our coaching group, and she got 1,100 comments on one post. 11. Yeah, she was like, hey, Joe, like, I'm a doctor. I did a deal out of this group, but I'm not going to lie. Like, I did a lousy job following up with everybody because I can't get to 1,100 people. I've got leads pouring out of my eyeballs. And I was like, high five. So if you get more than 1,100, I need to know about it, so then you could be our new record holder. But usually you'll get 10, 15, 20 comments. But here's the challenge. They're going to leave you a comment on the post. Like, hey, I'm thinking of selling mine soon. Like, sending you a message, and then I DM them, right? Or flip side, they might have already DM'd you, but you got this spot in Facebook Messenger. It's called message requests. That's from people who send you a message that you're not friends with. So it's like a special folder. You have to look into it, because the first time I opened mine, I was like, oh my gosh, there was like so many people.
Yeah. I was like, oh my goodness.
There was a ton.
And we feel so bad.
So what I do, the name of the game is, especially if you're just starting out, or if you just want to add this to what you're already doing, it works. So you post that in 5 or 6 groups a day, 5 or 6 days a week, and you do that every single month. Your post, I mean, ideally, it's in front of millions of people, but that's not right, because Facebook only shows that post to like 7% of the people in the group, which means if I post it in front of 1 million people overall, like 70,000 are going to see it, which is still pretty good.
Yeah.
So I continually do that. And these people are reaching out to me. I'm not having to bother them, a cold call them. And then what we do is we ask the 10 questions that we ask every seller. There's 10 questions that we do, because the way we've kind of designed it is we're going to gather all the right information. But by the way we even ask our questions, the sellers make us the offer. And so what this does, it's neat. If I get 10 leads today, 6 or 7 might kind of like weed themselves out and not be a good fit, right? But then there might be the 3 or 4 that are good ones, and those are the ones I want to spend the time calling, because I don't have infinite amount of time. So if I only have an hour to spend today, I'm going to call the 3 really good leads in that 1 hour.
Yeah, motivation is key.
Question. So you're basically sending them a form that they fill out? No, you're calling them first, and you're just asking these 10 questions.
No, I DM them 1 question at a time.
Oh, you do? Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super easy.
And then over time, like when you have, for your one friend that ended up getting 1,100 for one post, you can get a VA that can handle a lot of this, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So obviously, first starting out, you want to be very comfortable asking those questions yourself. But the whole point is eventually replace yourself from that task so you can get on the phone with the good ones who are motivated to sell. And that's the income producing task. So, but in the beginning, you're bootstrapping a little bit, learning the ropes. And that's why we just love this strategy, because again, you're not spending $5,000 on a marketing campaign that, maybe you got back to like, one or two people that were serious sellers and the rest are calling you angry. How did you get my house? And all the things.
Well, it's also very common in the beginning. You're going to make mistakes. It's nerve wracking. There's a lot of trial and error. And so if you don't actually need to do that trial and error with your own money and you can actually stir up some stuff.
Yeah.
Have them reaching out to you, incredible. I love that strategy.
And it works for everything. Like we've had people even get multifamily, their own houses from this strategy, car washes, listed endless.
Yeah, we've had one gentleman reach out to us with an adult entertainment club, let's just say.
Chapman's Club.
He wanted to sell it, but really?
So we'll get him out of it.
Oh my God.
The funny thing is too, is we've had multi-million-dollar properties come from it. I've got a deal right now. The lady, she's got a $3 million property she wants to sell. She's answered some Facebook posts, right? So it works for the big stuff too.
And it helps having a great presence online too. So if you are dusting off that profile, post that, a smiling photo of yourself, not a cat or a dog photo, and, make it well known that you buy houses, because people can be skeptical. You're going to have to deal with some comments that might be questioning who you are. But if you build out your page so they can know, like, and trust you, this really works.
Yeah, you're not in Nigeria or doing something weird.
Right.
This is legit. You are who you are. This is what you do. That's so cool. I actually want to test this out myself. I have about 6 properties left over in Ohio that I would like to sell, and some of them are in the hood. Great for somebody getting started, but yeah, at the end of the day, I could probably just flip the script there and do the same thing. So I love it. What a treat. That is really good. I love that. Talk to me about, some of your strategies. Once you get these leads coming in and you go through the script, you one question at a time, even, down the road, you start getting a VA to handle that. Then what? What is the next steps?
So, we have a team in place now. So I have virtual assistants. And then what we've done is, because we've got so great at organic, we actually do sponsored ads that are the same thing. We just pay money to do that too, right? So we get a lot of leads that come in. Now I've got a virtual assistant who asks all the questions. And then once they go through the 10 questions, we turn that over to my sales team. Alexi, she was our babysitter we found on care.com a couple of years ago when we moved to Florida. She's now writing up all these deals for us, talking to the sellers, and I'm just kind of looking at deals throughout the week that she brings to us.
Yeah.
But when you're just getting started, if it's just you, because it was just us.
Yeah.
Get the answers.
It's really that last question that we're asking through messaging is if they're interested in seller financing. And if they're like, tell me more, or yes, that's when the phone call happens. And then really from there, you're looking at their motivation. Does it cash flow? Could they give me a long-term length? And so ideally, our favorite extra strategy is going to be buy and hold it and put in a lease option tenant buyer. And if those numbers don't work, what is the next thing that could work, right? Or if they don't want to do terms or seller financing, can we pay cash if it does need work? So that's why, we kind of call it the playbook that we have here, because it depends on the situation of the seller, what they're looking for. It's what play are we going to run?
I love that. Yeah, you explained it perfectly. That's great. Talk to me about when you are presenting seller financing. I feel and maybe I'm incorrect here, so call me out on it, but I feel like a majority of sellers or motivated sellers, they may just be uneducated on that process and confused, and it's not the traditional way. They're not going to get a lump sum of cash rate, all of it, and just be done with it. So what is the education process? Have you guys simplified that to really make sure that the seller truly understands from beginning to end what this looks like?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's, I think, my wife being a genius that she is, being a middle school teacher.
Yeah. You're a smart man, my friend.
Well, because she's helped break down this process that easy to where I think seventh graders could do it, because my daughter's in sixth grade, and a year ago she locked up a seller finance deal while I was like in the kitchen like making dinner. So
less is more, right? And so as investors, you can throw around terms like wraparound mortgage, subject to, and all these things. But a seller, like grandma down the street or Aunt Michelle, like she doesn't need to know all of that because that's going to confuse her. So, simple things like, well, this is going to be a delayed cash sale for full price. Kind of just simplifying the wording and just like not watering it down, but just making it simple. When I tried learning this in 2017, there were a lot of conversation. Let me just say, like, I was super frustrated. Like, what does terms even mean? Right. And so like, I understand, like, it's a lot to comprehend, but when you just break it down and keep it simple and you ask the questions, well, I typically buy with no money down. So if there is equity, then we can explain like, hey, like when we cash our tenant buyers out, like that remainder of the equity will go to you in 7 to 10 years. And they'll say, okay, or no, I need some money. And how much is that? So it's just, you take it step by step. You don't go at them all at once. You really just simplify everything.
Yeah. And I think the key, the game changer, we've actually made this for our own team, is we came up with a motivation scale of 1 to 10. Because what we've realized over the last 100 deals, whereas the people that we're doing business with, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most motivated, like Brandon, take my house. They're usually like an 8, 9, or 10.
Yeah.
Who we don't do business with is the 1, 2s, and 3s, right? We don't do business with them generally. So what we realized was to make sure that you're spending the majority amount of your time with the fewest amount of your leads, which are the most motivated ones.
Yeah.
So if you're talking to 1s and 2s, man, you're going to be frustrated. You're going to say, this stinks and this doesn't work. You spend time talking to just nonstop 10s. You're going to be closing deals. You're going to think you're like, I'm the greatest closer ever. You just met really motivated people. And so like some deals that we're recently doing, we have one in upstate New York. We're buying it sight unseen. She took pictures and things like that. But the lady had renters and they moved out, left the place a mess. She's taking care of her sick mother who lives on 300 acres. So she's overwhelmed. She doesn't have time to go back and fix this property or just, clean it up. And so when she reached out and we told her, we explained how we could buy it. And now she has a mortgage. So I could buy it. I can close on it. And I'm just going to leave the mortgage in your name because you have a really low payment and a really low interest rate. So therefore, I can still pay a good price for it. So she says, Joe, you could take it over for what I owe as long as you pay the closing costs and give me $2,000. So for $2,000 plus some closing costs, I'm going to own this house, send the guys over there to go clean it all up, and then we're going to put in one of our renters. So we just put that under contract last week. And then about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, we closed on another one here in Florida where the house is 2 years old. It was built in 2022.
Beautiful turnkey.
It doesn't need a thing. They just moved to Texas for his job. He's out in Texas making 2 payments while she's here like packing up. And he says, I'm open to selling it. They have a 4% interest rate. They said, if you give me 12 grand down, you could take over my payments. And so for $12,000 down plus some closing costs, I have a 2-year-old house in Florida that's turnkey beautiful with the solar on it, the whole nine. And it rents for, if the payment's $1,900, it's going to rent for probably about $2,500, and it doesn't need anything. So these are how we're able to find these deals, are by finding the motivated sellers, or better yet, the motivated sellers find us.
I love that. I love this so much. I feel like it's desperately needed. There's still people out there that are in tough situations. And just like you said, like track the rating of how bad they are in this position right now and stop wasting times with 1, 2s, and 3s. Focus on 9, 10 and above, right? And serve them to the best ability. Is there, as far as protection, and I know it's really just like, it's wrapping it, it's the certain docs needed for recording, but while it's still in their name, the actual loan and the great rates and everything, is there any potential, I wouldn't say like consequences or something that makes it more a liability on your end, just in case if something happened? I don't know.
No, great question.
Well, because you know what? I think of what happened back in 2008. I now know some really heavy hitter real estate investors who lost their tails in 2008, because when you buy a property and you're going to finance it through your company, but you're personally guaranteeing that loan, you're personally putting all of your assets on the line. And so I learned from all of that, right? And so the way we're doing it, it's called non-recourse debt. So to me, it's actually less risky doing it this way. And we want to keep the deal because like I've got one in Cape Coral. It's $1 million house on the water with a boat lift and a pool. And he's got a 2.8 interest rate. So, and I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever see a 2.88 interest rate ever again. So I don't want to mess that deal up. So you make sure the payments are set automatically so they're always on time and you have proper insurance on the property. And if you pay your payments on time and have good insurance, life is good.
I love it. Yeah, that's so good. What struggles along the way have you guys gone through, and or just something for somebody that's just getting started doing these creative different strategies and methods that they should be on the lookout for? So ideally they learn from your mistakes versus creating it themselves.
I think having a good coach that's actually doing the business, having a mentor community involved with you so that you're not trying to figure it out. We had hired a mentor and he was great, but there was a big gap. So like we would get a deal on a Monday and we'd have to wait till Friday to talk on a phone call, which to me, time is of the essence. So that was super frustrating. So I feel like just little things like that, like this is not something you should just go and watch YouTube or listen to a couple podcasts. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, from setting up the insurance properly to being able, you have all the proper paperwork in place. Are you putting it in a land trust? All these little things that really, really matter. And so I think that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to? Well, and I was add to that. You can see so many years away I married her, right? But the other big one for me, I know, is I spent, okay, so you got to think about it. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most motivated. I really want to spend most of my time with like 7s, 8, 9, and 10, which is like the top like 30, 40%. Well, the bulk of your leads are going to be time wasters, right? People you're not going to do business with. So what my challenge was in the beginning, I'm talking to a 4, trying to make them in a 10, and they're just not.
For hours.
Right? So... yeah. And so when somebody starts off and I'm like, okay, cool. Like the seller, he's like, I don't really want to sell it. I just want to know your price. I'm like, don't waste your time. Whack that person at lightning speed and go. Because here's the thing. There's actually people out there who have a problem, who really need help. The deal that we're closing next week in Cape Coral, he's had his house on the market with a realtor. It didn't sell. He got divorced. He's moving back up north. He wants this thing just gone. It's been on the market. It didn't sell. He had it on for 1.2 million, 1.1 million. He's frustrated. So when he made us the deal at 800,000, we're now getting a great deal on the property, a really good rate, highly motivated. So I think the key is spend your time with actually motivated sellers. And if you're talking to unmotivated people and you're sitting here scratching your head, it's because you're just dealing with the wrong people. And there's nothing wrong with that. So
I love that. So don't waste time with people that aren't really motivated. Stay with the top 20, 30% that are super motivated and really have a problem that you can help serve. And then also, when those people are there for you to serve, especially in the beginning, you're going to need a community and quick support that actually can like help you, guide you through that process instead of when
kills deals.
Yeah, a week later, it's too long for creative deals like this.
And give yourself time, right? Like this is not a race. Some people get their first deal in a month, and some people it takes them a little bit longer depending on life, what's happening. And so I always say put your blinders on and just stay focused and stay those boring, mundane tasks day after day. That's what gets you there, not this like big, huge thing that happens overnight. Like that becomes after all of those little tedious tasks that you've just put in hours of work.
It's kind of like working out. If you have a trainer and you're doing it with somebody, then at least you have confidence that, hey, everything that I'm doing is going to pay off in the next several months versus doing it by yourself. You don't know what the hell to eat or how to work out. It's a mess.
Yeah. And don't quit. Just keep going.
I love that. I love it. That's awesome. Guys, how can everybody get a hold of you and some of the resources that you guys have? I know that you have some scripts and some awesome things that you wanted to kind of gift some of the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. We're on creativefinanceplaybook.com. And so on there, you can sign up and get the exact ads that Joe was just talking about that we put into those Facebook groups, and the scripts will come to you as well. So you'll get those 10 questions that we ask every seller. And I'm on Instagram, so you'll find that on there as well.
And if you have if you take that post and you're going to use it, okay? And then when they reach out to you, don't be surprised. So the 10 questions we ask every seller, message them one at a time. And what's going to happen is you're going to finally find yourself some deals. So, which is exciting. Some of these are just these creative deals. Some could be a cash deal where it's a fixer upper and you could do a fix and flip or a wholesale, whatever that looks like. But I like the rentals part too, because they're turnkey and they're nice. But if you find one of these deals and you need some help, or you're just sitting here scratching your head, say, what do I do next? Like, actually call my cell phone or text me, because I'm on social media, but it's so crazy. My cell phone, I could actually get to it quicker. So my cell phone number is 585-207-2240. And if you call me or text me, don't be surprised when I answer it. And if you call me in the middle of the night, I will call you at 5 o'clock in the morning, because that's usually when I wake up. So don't be surprised about that too.
I love that. Well, I appreciate your guys' energy. I love what you guys are doing. I love how giving you are and how simplified. I think having a teacher right close by always helps things out a little. But I appreciate you guys greatly. Guys, you're definitely going to want to reach out to Jenn and Joe. They are a wealth of knowledge. Their heart's in the right place to better serve you. And what real estate has done for them and myself, it's been tremendous. So if you're on the fence or you need another creative opportunity to jump into to get some deals under your belt, maybe just getting started, this is an incredible strategy you're not going to want to sleep on. So I do encourage you, reach out to both of these guys. They are awesome, and you can pick their brain and get those missing pieces if you need a community and support. With that being said, if you want to get a hold of me, you can always do so on Instagram. It's Brandon Elliott Investments. Otherwise, check out our business page on Instagram. It's Credit Counsel Elite. And if you haven't already checked out creditcounselelite.com, what are you waiting for? We have a bunch of different options for you to be able to show you either how to get out of the 9-to-5, or as a business owner starting that new business, you acknowledge you need some new capital. We can show you how to actually get up to $500,000 in new capital with interest rates as low as 0%. You can grow and scale, getting a bunch of this basically, guys. So we'll teach you how to talk to the banks properly and be able to get more of that 90% approval odds and higher limits with our bank relationships. So if you want to get on a call with us, just go to creditcounselelite.com, creditcounselelite.com, watch a quick 10-minute video, explains more, and then you can jump on a quick call with us to discuss where you're currently at and where you're looking to go. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. Do that right now. You'll get that newest notification every Monday. And when this episode drops, leave that 5-star review. Greatly appreciate all the love, all the support. You guys are amazing. Keep it coming. We will catch you guys next time. Till next time, guys. God bless. Jenn, Joe, appreciate you guys.
Thank
Thank you so much.
See you guys. God bless. All right.
This has been another episode of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, brought to you by Brandon Elliott. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, God bless.